Hi, good morning everyone. Teng Boo from Capital Dynamics again. I'm sure you all had a very interesting week, and I'm sure most of you would have watched with a lot of anxiety and maybe excitement the election results that America and the rest of the world witnessed a few days ago. I think it was a drama that even Hollywood couldn't beat in terms of a blockbuster. Nevertheless, on 20th January 2025, Donald Trump will be sworn in as America's 47th president, having convincingly won the 2024 election. So investors, observers are already predicting a Trump rally. The New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, both jumped on news of his victory. On my side, I would say, not so fast, hold on. My question is, Trump rally, really? Okay, stay on. Let me share with you why I have a question mark on the Trump rally. I call this presidency as his second and last chance. That's important. But first, let me say that his comeback, Donald Trump's lucky comeback, will be discussed and talked about and written about for a very long time to come. There's no doubt, let me be clear, that few people could have achieved what he did in terms of his personal achievements. But I call Trump's 2024 election success as a lucky break, really lucky. Admittedly, you can't deny there were some great tactics and strategies on Trump's side. But the most important factor, from my perspective, that enabled Trump to make this comeback was because Joe Biden fumbled and the US Democratic Party tumbled. Anyway, let's continue. In this 2024 presidential election, Trump really did not have any competitor. As I said, the 46th US president was fumbling and belatedly recognized that he was not up to compete with Trump. And the Democratic Party was totally distracted. Kamala Harris actually had only about 107 days to prepare for a massive and very expensive campaign. Look at the situation objectively, right? Then, in what is essentially still a very racist and male chauvinist American society, Kamala Harris has two big albatrosses. She is non-white and female. Guess who was the other female candidate who tried and lost? Hillary Clinton. So America has never had a female president. On the Democratic Party side, instead of preparing to fight Donald Trump, the Democratic Party, under the fumbling Joe Biden, was so obsessed in fighting an imaginary enemy, China, and two hot wars, one in Ukraine and the other one in Middle East. In the last few years, I am not a US resident, I'm not a US citizen, but I do read as widely, as deeply as I can. In the last few years, the US Democratic Party lost track of Donald Trump and his guerrilla-like preparation for a successful comeback. I give credit to Donald Trump for that. So the result is Democratic United States has not elected a convicted felon to be a dictator or a king. Not only has Trump won the presidential election by a clear margin, he also won it on a popular vote basis, about 50.7%. He must be telling himself that, I was right when I said that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from me. I am right all the time. And not only that, the Republican Party won back majority of the Senate. And as we are talking to you, it appears that the US House of Representatives will also see the Republican Party remaining in control. The odds seems to be in that favor. And I hope you can see the result. Nevertheless, this is all public news. I'm not sure if many of you pay attention to this. This was 1st July 2024, where the US Supreme Court decided that Donald Trump cannot be prosecuted for actions that were within his constitutional powers as US President. This was a landmark decision, unprecedented. It recognized for the first time since America's 18th century founding that former US presidents can be shielded from criminal charges. The Supreme Court's conservative majority, there were 9 of them, included 3 justices that were appointed by Donald Trump. Interesting, isn't it? In a democracy, you're supposed to have a lot of checks and balances. The legislature, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives, the executive, which is the president, and the judicial system, which is, the apex of it is the US Supreme Court.
Are you tired of doing investment research on stock markets? Want to spend time on your hobbies or go out with your friends instead? Introducing iCapital, where you can get independent, objective, and comprehensive investment advice on the go. Available in English and Mandarin and can be accessed via app, website, and print copy. We provide thorough, first-hand research-based findings on listed companies, economies, and stock markets, and clear perspective of how markets interact and how they influence investments, as well as provide Malaysian and global stock recommendations, stock portfolios with outstanding performance to follow. Subscribe now to iCapital for stock news. From only 49 ringgit a year, start investing like a fund manager. Subscribe now at www.icapital.biz.
Now, what is interesting is the dissenting judgment from one of the 3 dissenting judges, one of whom is Sonia Sotomayor. She wrote, when he uses his official powers in any way, his meaning a president of America, under the majority's reasoning, the US president will now be insulated from criminal prosecution. So she gives you a hypothetical example. Order the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. The US president is immune. Organize a military coup to hold on to power in America. The US president is immune. Take a bribe in exchange for a pardon. The US president is immune, wrote Sonia Sotomayor. In every use of official power in America, the US president now is a king above the law. Gosh, I'm not sure if most of you knew that there was such a ruling. That was 1st July 2024, not too long ago, just a few months before the presidential election. So, that's why I think he should be called not President Donald Trump, but King Donald Trump. Why? Now, there's popular vote backing him, right? The Republican Party is controlling the Senate, and soon the representative as well, the House of Representatives. And then you have the ruling, the July 2024 ruling of the US Supreme Court. Essentially, President Trump, as the 47th president, can essentially do what he wants. He has the motivation, the position, the resources, and now he has unlimited and unrestricted space. And more importantly, he knows he has limited time. He cannot be president after this term, second term, and he's got only effectively less than 4 years. So in terms of making America great again, his famous MAGA, frankly, from my point of view, Donald Trump did not achieve anything significant as the 45th president. And I would say the same would go for Joe Biden, and the same will be repeated when Trump is America's 47th president. Now, for some clues on what Trump may be doing when he is sworn in January 2025, look at Project 2025. What is Project 2025? Who funded and who wrote this thick document? This is about 900 pages. It is led and funded by the Heritage Foundation, a well-known conservative think tank founded about 50 years ago. There are more than 100 conservative organizations on the advisory board on this project. You can read them, some of them are there. The project's policy agenda was published online as a book called Mandate for Leadership, The Conservative Promise. This book has got 30 chapters, each credited to one or more of its 35 primary authors and editors, plus hundreds of contributors. According to the Heritage Foundation, in Trump's first term, when he was sworn in as president in January 2017, the Trump administration embraced 64% of the 2016 edition policy solution offered by Heritage Foundation after 1 year. 64%. That's a lot. And they have a lot of policy solutions, policy proposals. And some of the notable authors of the most recent edition include, you can see their names there, Dr. Ben Carson, Christopher Miller, blah, 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 and more importantly, Peter Navarro. Right? Peter Navarro is one of Trump's most anti-China hawk, and he has written a few totally ridiculous books about China. And what a CNN review found is that at least 140 people who work in the Trump administration had a hand in Project 2025. So you got to pay attention to this project. It's a thick document. I just give you some very short summaries, some short examples. Project 2025 proposes that the entire federal bureaucracy, including independent agencies such as the Justice Department, be placed under direct presidential control. My God. And the proposal also calls for eliminating job protections for thousands of government employees who will then be replaced by political appointees. Can you imagine that thing happening in Malaysia? You know, let's say our government employees are actually political appointees. Can you imagine what kind of country Malaysia would be? This project labels the FBI a bloated, arrogant, increasingly lawless organization. It calls for a drastic overhaul of this and several other federal agencies. Now, the last line is interesting, as well as the complete elimination of the Department of Education. I can't say much about the FBI because it's, as an outsider, we don't have good information on what FBI is all about, but complete elimination of the Department of Education? Mind-boggling, isn't it? Another example, the more scary one, the one on climate change. Project 2025 proposes slashing federal budget for research and investment in renewable energy and calls for the next president, which is the 47th president, to stop the war on oil and natural gas. Carbon reduction targets would be replaced by efforts to increase energy production and energy security. Project 2025 calls for the dismantling of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This is a very important body. It conducts research and issues regular reports, updated reports on climate change. Project 2025 also wants to eliminate or overhaul the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, the Office of State and Community Energy Programs, which work with communities to significantly accelerate the deployment of clean energy technologies. And it calls for an end to the agency's focus on climate change and green subsidies. This is referring to the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. Look, climate change is a problem that's not confined to just the United States. We have all been going through, we meaning in Malaysia, have been going through all kinds of extreme weather conditions. Weather recent time has been extremely hot. You know, Japan, Mount Fuji, for the first time, there was no snow. It was supposed the snow on Mount Fuji was supposed to have appeared on 2nd or 3rd October. It's more than a month late. Climate change cannot be just determined by the United States. It is a global problem. America has no right to take this matter into their own hands. But this is what Project 2025 is all about. Okay, leaving that aside, what about the Trump rally, right? You could see on the day when he was sure that he has won the presidential election, New York jump up, NASDAQ jump up, and then people in the media, they talk about Trump rally, Trump rally. I say, no, hang on. 2025 is not the same as 2017, the year when Trump was sworn in as the 45th president. The socio-economic, political conditions between now and then are so different, both within the United States and outside of America. Under Donald Trump, in his first term from 2017 to 2020, before the pandemic hit, the inflation rate in America was 1.9%. 1.9%. That's even lower than now. And it remained low during his presidency. Not because he was brilliant. Trump was just plain lucky. Trump inherited a US economy from Barack Obama that was still struggling to grow at full steam. Several years after the 2008 US-led global financial crisis. As a matter of fact, that whole period from the 2009 up to about 2017, 2018 has often been described as jobless recovery, where the US was still suffering from her own created financial crisis. You can see on the left, the chart, it shows you the unemployment rate. The gray column is the 2008 recession. They call it the Great Recession. And then the number of jobs that were lost plunged, the blue line, and then it started to recover. The red line, the dash red line, shows you where the number of employment recovered to the level before the Great Recession started. It was only 6 years after that, in 2014, middle 2014, that it recovered to that level. It was as described here, an achingly slow 4-year recovery. And many groups were hit, many groups in America. Job openings were very hard to find. Veterans were hit, recent college graduates, long-term unemployed were all hit, which in a way, that period after the Great Recession, the jobless recovery, was maybe the catalyst for the disenchantment, the disillusionment, especially within Middle America, which gave a lot of fertile soil to the rise of Donald Trump in 2016-2017. In October 2016, the US unemployment rate was still a relatively high 4.9%. October, because that was the month when all the hectic campaigning was taking place. But even if you look at, say, before that, when the campaigning would have started earlier, the unemployment rate was still above 5%. In terms of inflation, it was near deflation, and inflation could not take root in the American economy after years of zero interest rate. The US stock markets benefited from such a Goldilocks environment. In addition, New York Stock Exchange, and NASDAQ were not overvalued. You don't see Warren Buffett crazily dumping US stocks like what he's doing now. On the other hand, the average inflation rate under Joe Biden from 2021 until August 2024 was a scary 5.2%. Biden signed the Americans Rescue Plan Act in 2021, which was worth $1.9 trillion to stimulate the economy. And that's 2021. This came very shortly after Trump's own panicky solution, such as the $2 trillion Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act, CAS Act. So back to back, trillions of dollars were pumped into the US economy. Then there was the global supply chain disruption, the 2022 Ukrainian crisis. US inflation peaked at 9.1% in June 2022, the highest in 40 years. Frankly, Biden's and Trump's management of the COVID-19 pandemic sucks. They both created high financial and health costs for the whole American society. And by the way, just on that, it looks like Trump is going to appoint RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., to be in charge of American health system, because Robert Kennedy Jr. doesn't believe in COVID vaccine. So you have now Trump version 1 versus Trump version 2. Trump version 1 benefited tremendously from Obama's slow-moving policies. Trump version 2, unfortunately, will feel the curse of Biden's clumsy legacies, plus, of course, Trump's own panic fiscal responses. I predict that Trump version 2 eventually will blame Joe Biden for the recession and the US bear market that will be coming under the 47 US president. How can this happen, you ask? Is there not supposed to be a Trump rally? This was in March 2022 when the Federal Reserve started to raise interest rate, right? And the US Federal Reserve raised interest rate very aggressively for 11 times until the federal funds rate hit 5% and above. Since then, while the US inflation rate has come down a lot, especially the headline inflation rate, from its 2022 peak, US inflation still remains far above the Federal Reserve's 2% inflation target. So, Trump rally, really? Look at the chart on the right hand side. That is the US core PCE price index, where energy and food prices are excluded. We use this because that is the target inflation rate that the US Federal Reserve looks at. September 2024, US Federal Reserve made its first rate cut. A few days ago, it made a second rate cut, 25 basis points. But look at the PCE, the core PCE. In September, this is the latest reading. In September 2024, the PCE is at 2.7%. Now, 2.7% to 2% may not look that much, but in the economic world, that is still a long distance to go. Inflation in the United States has not been fully tamed. What is more worrying is that the United States, starting from 2025, will be getting the most inflationary president ever. This time round, unlike in 2017, Trump is going to inherit an overheated US economy from Biden, which has just begun to slowly cool down. What is worrying is that inflation is likely to rise again in the United States and around the world if Donald Trump or King Trump follows through on his campaign promises to cut taxes, corporate and personal taxes, crack down on immigration. He promises to have the biggest deportation of illegal people from the United States and to hike tariffs on all imported goods. He has proposed a 60% tariff on imports from China and a 10 to 20% tariff on goods from the rest of the world. And like I said, should he really deport millions of immigrants, inflation in the United States will be boosted as employers will face higher wages. If you watch the American economy closely, already you have millions of American workers who have gone on strike for higher wages. The last one was Boeing. And Trump has proposed interfering with the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure how he's going to do it or what he's going to do, but remember what I said, King Trump, where Trump is going to be the most powerful US president in the nation's 250 years history. House of Representatives, most likely under Republican, Senate under Republican already. The Senate control is important because that means that the judicial appointees, judicial nominees, and the nominees for Trump's cabinet has to be approved by the House of Senate. And now the House of Senate is Republican control. So you have all kinds of levels, different aspects of the United States government that are now under the control of one person. So this Trump's lucky re-election puts the 47th president in a very strong position, almost uncheckable, to implement his inflationary and disruptive radical economic agenda. That's why I hail him, long live King Trump. So this story is going to continue. This is just the beginning. Look, today is only Saturday, right? Even the final results for the House of Representatives have not been released yet because they're still counting votes in California and so on. So this is an unfolding story. What I'm giving you now would be my initial take based on whatever research that we have done. And if you want to get updated, in-depth and timely analysis of this type of important issues, it could be about America, it could be about China, it could be about Malaysia and so on, You can either subscribe to our YouTube channel or subscribe to www.icapital.biz, where you really get full, thorough research and analysis. As I said, the day is still young. Now it's only November. The swearing in is January. A lot of things can happen in between. And give your comments. What you think? What are your thoughts? What you like to hear from us? And we'll do our very best to answer as many as we possibly can. Don't forget, like, please. Don't forget, share. In case there's so many people who think that there's a Trump rally. And as usual, have a good weekend. Thank you very much.